afternoon and welcome to First Financial Biz Beat presented by the Business Courier. I'm Kyla Woods. Making numbers work is at the heart of every business venture. The restaurant world is already a tough industry to make it in, and the new math during a pandemic doesn't add up. On the front page centerpiece this week, the Hunger Games. The restaurant industry is one of the hardest hit by coronavirus restrictions. Only 75% of them nationwide are even able to reopen. And now they have to take on new costs just to open, like masks and gloves for employees, extra workers to handle carryout orders, and additional shifts to sanitize everything multiple times per day. Owners are innovating on the fly, but in an industry built on volume and high margin experiences, profitability during a global pandemic is off the menu most indefinitely. When everything shut down in March, Brittany Ruby Miller knew reopening would be like launching 7 new restaurants. So they created what is essentially a whole new business plan built for a pandemic. She talked about that with Courier reporter Andy Brownfield.
So I'm here with Brittany Ruby Miller, the CEO of Jeff Ruby Culinary Entertainment, which operates 7 restaurants across 3 states. Now, you've been open for just over a month. What all did it take to get to that point?
It took a lot of people. We really started thinking about this about 2 weeks after we closed, when the shock kind of wore off, and now then it was like, let's get back to business. There's gonna be a time that we open, and so we spent 3 months drafting a 40-page COVID playbook for our staff. So when they came back, that they felt that they were trained and that they had enough knowledge and skills to be able to manage and do what we do at the level that we do in a COVID world. There was lots that we did to the actual floor plans. I was on the restaurant advisory board for Ohio, and so I feel that I take personal pride in making sure that we're doing our part and that we're 6 foot distanced. And if not, that there's barriers. And so you think about your floor plan, you think about your space, your physical space, you think about training. I mean, everything that you can, and this isn't just us, this is everybody. There's been so much innovation in the restaurant scene that I'm just so proud of everybody doing our parts. It was a lot though, and we're just happy to be open.
Yeah, tell me about some of that innovation. I know restaurants have had to be creative to bring in new revenue streams as their capacity has been limited.
Yes, so capacity definitely is limited. Luckily for Ohio, we are not limited to this 50% of your fire code. As long as the space is again distanced, we can have more than 50% and do it in a way that is beyond safe. And but again, it's the innovation. Really, it's a disruption, and I welcome disruptions. For me, it was during the time off, think about this in the most positive way that we can, where this could be incremental sales, whether it's meal kits or carry out or virtual wine tours with Keegan, or whatever it might be, sending a chef into a home, doing a catering event. And so really that will never stop. This has now, I think, it has forced leaders, restaurateurs, bartenders, everybody to think, you know what your break even is, you know what these numbers are, how do you get there? That might not be 100% dine in, because we actually know that it's not going to be. So we have to be able to service other revenue streams and other types of people who don't want to eat in restaurants.
And the National Restaurant Association has polled its members and said that 75% of them say that they're not going to turn a profit in the next 6 months under these new protocols. What does the road to profitability look like for Jeff Ruby Culinary Entertainment?
Well, we're in that 75%. I think if you talk to anybody in the restaurant industry, if we can break even for 2020, that's a win. And I'm one of the most competitive people you'll probably ever meet. And so for me, how that tastes coming out of my mouth is, let's break even. But that's where we are. We don't know the future. We don't know what's going to happen. And we operate at a very high level. And so we're not going to SDA prime steaks, or because of the cost of the inventory, we have to operate very lean. We've got to be very smart with our finances. We also know who we are, and we're not willing to sacrifice that. So we've got to be good business people, but we've also got to give the public what they want and what they expect when they come into our restaurants.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thanks, Andy.
There are renewed fears in the industry that another shutdown may be looming as daily cases are surging again. And several local restaurants are feeling the effects. An employee at Pho Lang Thang tested positive for COVID-19 and they did not show any symptoms. The restaurant near Finley Market shut down so all employees could get tested. So too did Quan Hapa, which has the same owners and shares resources. They both plan to reopen when all employees test negative. Ryan House and OTR is also temporarily closed, even though no one has tested positive. Owners say it's as a proactive measure in the interest of both staff and customers. They will evaluate reopening on a week-by-week basis. Some new places are opening during these uncertain times. An old Mount Adams favorite is now serving up Thai food in OTR. Teak's new home is on Ray Street across from Washington Park. The menu is more compact than it used to be, but all the favorites are there, including creative sushi rolls and a daily dim sum special. And on the west side, Ivory House is open in the Westwood Business District. The owners turned the old bank into a fine dining restaurant, serving fresh food from local and sustainable producers. Well, it has been a long 4 months for fans of live music, but the music is playing again at the Southgate House Revival. It's one of the first venues to reopen. Hundreds usually attend a show there, but only 50 people are allowed inside right now. Everyone has to sit at tables and spread 8 feet apart. Guests have their temperatures checked at the door and everyone must wear a mask. The owner says she thought this day may never come.
Certainly in troubling times like we're in right now, music is something that brings people together, you know, not just physically, but emotionally as well.
Riverfront Live also reopened under similar restrictions. The venue can hold almost 5,000 people, and that new limit is 855. There are not many places where you could hear live music, have a drink, and do your laundry. Sudsy Malone's was one of those places. Beck, Smashing Pumpkins, and the Red Hot Chili Peppers all played the Short Vine establishment when they were just getting started. And it's been closed for more than a decade. Soon the building will meet the wrecking ball. The plan is to build a mixed-use development on the site. If you have a lot of spare change lying around, well, now is the time to use it. There's a shortage of coins across the country. You can thank the coronavirus for that. When retail stores were forced to shut down, the circulation of coins slowed dramatically. At the same time, the U.S. Mint cut production of new coins because of staffing changes to keep workers safe. Then the Federal Reserve put limits on how much change banks would be given. So now that stores are back open, many can't get enough coins from banks.
If you have large amounts of coin at home, take them to your bank and have them run. And then just get the cash. You still have the same amount of money, and we have coins to circulate out.
And this will affect your Kroger trip too. If you're not paying with a card, you'll need to pay the exact amount. Otherwise, the change will go on your loyalty card and will be used on your next purchase. Or you can round up for charity. Well, it's going to take a big chunk of change to buy one of Cincinnati's most iconic buildings. The office and retail portions of the Courier Tower are now for sale. The building is owned and managed by Belvedere Corporation. There's no asking price. The seller will be accepting proposals. The 90-year-old building is on the Register of National Historic Landmarks. Cincinnati's next eye-catching structure is taking shape in the West End. We got our first look inside the future home of FC Cincinnati. They put the final steel beam in last week, the last of 10,000 tons of U.S. fabricated steel. When it's complete, it will be on one of the biggest stadiums in Major League Soccer. Sundays at Paul Brown Stadium are, of course, going to look a whole lot different this year. Tailgating, as much a part of football as the forward pass, won't be happening, but that's just the beginning. Masks are mandatory. The first 8 rows will be blocked off and the seats will be more spaced out. But diehard fans say they'll do whatever it takes to be there.
I'm there. I don't care. I'll wear a mask. I hate masks. I'll sweat. I don't care. I'm there. If we end up in row 23, 24, I'll have to yell louder.
He's committed. Season ticket holders do have the option to pass on this season and maintain their seats for 2021. The home opener against the Chargers is supposed to happen on September 13th. Still to come on First Financial Biz Beat, a former Bearcats coach is one step closer to the U.S. Senate. And another Cincinnati bar is named one of the best in the country. two people vying to become Cincinnati's next mayor. P.G. Sittenfeld officially put his hat in the ring. Sittenfeld says he will focus on 4 priorities: affordable housing, reducing inequities in marginalized communities, making neighborhoods safe and clean, and good jobs with good wages. The current city council member is up against fellow councilman David Mann. They are both Democrats. The big difference, their 45-year age gap.
You know, when you think about what we're up against and the way in which we're going to have to rebuild this city as we deal with 3 concurrent crises, it's going to take energy and hard work and creativity and collaboration. So I certainly think I have the fortitude and the energy to help lead us into this next chapter.
Sittenfeld, who's 35, has been on council for 9 years. He lost a U.S. Senate race in 2016. In the meantime, a former UC football coach is one step away from becoming the next U.S. Senator from Alabama. Tommy Tuberville defeated former Attorney General Jeff Sessions in a GOP runoff election this past week. Tuberville, who was UC's head coach for 4 years from 2013 to 2016, will face Democratic incumbent Doug Jones in November. The pandemic has, as you can imagine, made the markets even more unpredictable. We've gone from severe lows to record highs. First Financial's Kurt Copenhaver talked about what to look for going forward with Courier Market Engagement Director Kelly Snyder.
Thanks so much, Kyla. And Kirk, thank you for being here. It's been a little while since you've been here, and I just wondered if you could tell us what's been happening in the market since we last talked.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a wild ride this year. We had that huge sell-off in the first quarter, and then the second quarter was the best quarter the S&P 500's had in over 20 years. And I think the main driver for that, as we, I think, talked about last time, is improving sentiment, both in terms of, investors feeling optimistic about how the economy is going to come out of this, and also the ability to develop medications and stuff and the impact of social distancing to control the pandemic and the damage that COVID-19 is going to cause. One thing that sticks out to us right now as a potential risk is that the market's getting a little top heavy. There's 6 stocks: Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Microsoft, Netflix, Google. Those 6 stocks represent about 25% of the S&P 500. And if those 6 start to struggle, that's enough of an influence to hold the entire market back. And historically, when the market does get this top heavy, it tends to do that. It tends to kind of self-correct. So we think that's a reason the market might be due for a breather here.
So why else do you think the market could go sideways here?
Well, I mean, valuation is a risk. Price earnings multiples on an absolute basis are very high. There's no arguing that. And I think a lot of that reflects investor expectations that this is going to be a pretty smooth recovery on the earnings front. But if that earnings recovery takes a little bit longer than expected, those PE multiples could contract. We're set up to have a big year-over-year decline in earnings. Because of the shutdown, earnings are going to decline, 18, 20%, somewhere in that range. And usually when we have a big hit to earnings like that, it takes a while to get back to those prior peak levels. With the second quarter earnings releases just now starting up, we're getting our first glimpse into what corporate management teams are looking at for the rest of this year and into 2021. So that could be very telling in terms of what the market does going forward. The economic recovery could take longer than expected as well. In a real simple view, GDP growth can be boiled down to growth in employees and then any kind of productivity growth. Add those 2 together, you get an estimate of GDP growth. It's key to remember, we lost 15% of the jobs in this country during that shutdown. So unless there's a productivity boom, like we're talking, which we think is unlikely because productivity has been increasing 1.5%, 2% for the last several years, it's going to take some time to get back to that prior peak level of GDP. Just for reference sake, in the financial crisis, we lost 6% of our country's jobs and took 76 months to get those back. So economic recovery could take a little bit longer than expected.
So based on all of that, how are you positioning your client portfolios?
Well, right now we're not getting super bullish or super bearish. Like I said, valuations and earnings, that's a risk. And so you don't want to get super bullish on equities. But at the same time, interest rates are so low, it's hard to get super bullish on bonds either. So it's kind of that old Tina thesis playing out. There is no alternative to investing in stocks right now. So net, again, we're not super bullish, we're not super bearish, we're kind of neutral. Within equities, we are slightly overweight to the U.S. large cap space, as well as emerging market equities. Within fixed income, We're slightly overweight to those. We're emphasizing that those credit sensitive areas of the market relative to those areas that trade strictly on what interest rates are doing. And then lastly, within the alternative space, we're focusing mostly on things that would protect our client portfolios in case market volatility flares up again.
And still to come on First Financial Biz Beat, we'll take you to one of the best bars in America right down on Main Street. Of the 27 bars in Esquire's Best in the U.S. list, only one of them specializes in vodka, and that place is at 12th and Main in OTR. Vodka Bar made the magazine's annual rundown of the best watering holes in the U.S. The writer makes his picks by simply asking himself, are these places that you can't wait to experience again? Vodka Bar is closed for right now, of course, because of the pandemic, but plans to reopen in the very near future. A local talent strategy and executive search firm is partnering with the Urban League to increase both diversity and the leadership pipeline. The end goal is to ensure organizations are as equitable as they can be. Joining Courier publisher Jamie Smith to talk about the partnership is Centennial President Mike Sipple Jr. and Urban League President and CEO Eddie Cohen.
Thank you, Kyla. And Mike and Eddie, thank you so much for being on the show today. Mike, I'm going to start with you. I know that this initiative has been in the works at Centennial for a long time. Can you share with our viewers what this partnership plans to accomplish?
Yeah, thanks so much, Jamie. It's a real pleasure to be partnering up with the Urban League of Greater Southwestern Ohio and Eddie and his team. Our team's goal was to find a partner that can create action, right? So we live by the old adage, if not now, when, if not you, who? And our belief is that we want to be able to look back 3 to 5 years from now at this moment in time and see a pivotal change across leadership, across nonprofit boards, across for-profit boards, and see the pipeline and people's confidence building that, you know, whether they are African American or another leader of color or whatever they come through with their background, that they are empowered to step into those leadership roles just like their colleagues around them.
Awesome. Eddie, I know that this leadership pipeline in diversity is needed now more than ever. Can you talk about why you feel this partnership between your two organizations is important and how it's going to play out?
Sure, it's an incredible marriage with Centennial and Urban League. One, because we've had a history of working with them. This isn't something that we came up with overnight. This Urban League affiliate has been in this community for over 72 years, has served over 1 million African Americans. And we've typically targeted people in the workforce and entrepreneurs. Last fall, we actually talked to over 200 companies. And one of the things that emerged is there a pathway for mid-level management? You know, we work with staffing firms, but is there a place for Black and people of color, if that I can go to? We know what our strengths are, and we already have a relationship with Mike's firm. And so there were some discussions even before I was on board around how can we work together better, because they have the same goals of placing talent. We want to empower the community. So this came together as a natural way to strengthen that continuum. To serve that middle class, and that a middle class that's really been impacted by COVID. So we're really excited about it. We know that this is moving from theory to actions, and how can we accelerate the change that so many people are talking about right now when you think about all the social issues and companies wanting to know how can they move from statements to action. This is one of the tools in the toolbox, whether it's boards, C-suites, or management, to really think about economic power in our community. So we're really thrilled about it.
That's excellent. Mike, I'll kind of go back to you. If you need one of our viewers to walk away from this interview with one nugget, what would you share with them?
Yeah, so I was thinking about this, knowing that this might come up. One is that you too can put initiatives into action, right? So this is one partnership. Our hope is that this spurs on others. This is the way that our team, Jamie, viewed and has been viewing for the last few years how we can make an impact, right? What can we do? So the timing is really a beautiful partnership and alignment. But I would say, one, take action. Two, contact us, right? If you're interested, we've got organizations reaching out to us wanting to learn more. We have talent and individuals reaching out to us. And so we're very thankful for that. And that email address, if somebody just emails urbanleague@centennialinc.com, urbanleague@centennialinc.com, and say, I'd like to learn more, we'd love to talk with you about it.
That's awesome. Eddie, how about you? Any parting words for our audience?
Yeah, I think we're just excited about this initiative. You know, this is a highly confidential service for those who are interested in learning more about it. We know that the talent exists in our community and diverse communities. It's just really marrying the folks who have access to that talent and the companies and the organizations that need it. And I think with Centennial and Urban League, what better organizations to really represent that change that we need right now.
You know, that's awesome. I hope you guys and our readers and viewers saw last week we posted an article on the web as well as in our paper with our CEO. And one of the things that he said, as a media company, words are obviously very important for us. But as he also said, words are not enough. It has to be action. Right. And we as a company want to take action. And we love to see organizations that we respect so much, like Centennial, like Talent Magnet Institute, like the Urban League, put things into action. And if we can help in any way, please let us know, guys. Thanks so much for being on today. And we'll stay posted, and we'll get you guys back on to see what your progress is.
Fantastic.
Right. Thanks so much, Jamie.
Have a great day.
Thanks.
Very important effort taking place in our community there. Thank you, Jamie, for that interview, and thank you for joining us for First Financial Biz Beat. For business news around the clock, visit CincinnatiBusinessCourier.com. Make sure you follow us on Twitter and Facebook and sign up for our daily emails. I'm Kyla Woods. Have a wonderful and safe weekend.